legislators, well, they're not here. They're actually doing some work in Lansing, and they're doing some work on the budget. But by the magic of technology, and you gotta love it, we've hooked up our Detroit Public TV Skype systems, and we've gotten some people in Lansing, so we're gonna make sure that you're still kept up on the action and what's happening down in Lansing. So let's check now in with State Representative Richard LeBlanc of Westland. He is the Minority Vice Chair of the House Appropriations Committee. Representative LeBlanc, can you hear me?
Indeed, I can.
Thanks for joining us via Skype. We so appreciate it. So why don't you get us caught up and our viewers on what's happening with budget negotiations in Lansing?
Well, my understanding is that where we're at today is that some conference committees have met, which means that some bills have been voted in their final form. There are some, however, that have not yet been voted. And again, it's my understanding that once that process has concluded, that the House and the Senate both will combine all of the individual budget bills into an omnibus bill for general government, and then another omnibus bill for schools, and then we'll be voting eventually on two budget bills.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about schools. A lot of parents out there, a lot of teachers watching the budget for K through 12 education. What can you tell us about allotments there?
My understanding regarding schools is that that process has not concluded. In other words, the conference committees have not met as of about a half hour ago anyway, that there is still some negotiation that is taking place between the Senate chair and the House chair. I can tell you that the Democratic caucus is simply waiting so that they might hear what has been agreed, what will eventually become voted, but we are unaware of the items of difference that remain as of this time.
Oh, okay, so you don't know what the sticking points are right now in there?
You know, I don't, and it's again because we've not been invited to the table. It's the House chair, it's the Senate chair, and there are some other people certainly in the room, some fiscal analysts, I suppose, but the Democratic caucus through the process has not been invited, and they're not there at this moment. We can only speculate as to some of the stumbling blocks, but we don't have answers as of right now.
Is that kind of frustrating for you? And I think for some people at home who really don't understand the entire budget process and what the lawmakers do, is kind of like showing you how they make the sausage. But is that frustrating?
Yes, it is frustrating, but it's also the way it works. And I try not to complain too much, but really, since you have a legislature that is comprised entirely of a majority of Republican members and you have a Republican governor, there's probably not going to be negotiation regarding this process. And I can tell you that as a former chair, I spent my first 4 years as a chair of two committees. You know, there was inclusiveness required because the House was Democratic, the Senate was Republican, the governor, of course, was Democrat, and so negotiation had to take place. I think right now it's more of give and take as opposed to negotiation per se. I know the governor has weighed in as to the things that are important to he and those that he's responsible for. This morning, for example, I did vote on two different budget bills as a conferee. I voted on the state police budget. I voted on the military and veteran affairs budget. I voted yes on both of those budgets individually. I did have a good working relationship through the committee process with the chairs of both the House and the Senate. But again, when these bills are rolled into the omnibus bill, I'm just not sure where we're going to be at that point.
Anything about the corrections budget?
Yeah, you know, there was a lot of conversation regarding the corrections budget, and to be very forthright and very blunt, that budget, in my opinion, is not good. The department itself projected only a couple of days before we saw the actual bill that there would be no proposed closing of prisons. Of course, we now know that that's not the case. Some of the other things that have occurred within it would suggest that, you know, public safety as relates to both employees and those that are outside the fence, if I can call it that, are not exactly as was expected. So we're very concerned about the corrections budget, and I'm not sure where we're going to be, you know, with regard to that individual budget at the time it becomes voted.
All right, State Representative Richard LeBlanc of Westland, thanks so much for checking in with us from Lansing via Skype and giving us an update on the budget negotiations. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much. I wish I were there with you.
I
Thank
know,
you.
I know, and we wish our state legislators were up here as well. They always make the Mackinac Policy Conference a very lively event. And speaking about making things a very